So first, so why we are going to use forms? Why we are going to use forms? Forms. So why we need to use forms? To take the or else to collect the data from the users, or else we need to take the input from the users. Okay. So just remember, forms are used to collect the data from the users. So here, whenever we are implementing forms in HTML, in our web page itself, we are going to insert this form. సో మన హెచ్టిఎంఎల్ ఎప్పుడైతే ఫామ్ యూస్ చేస్తున్నామో సో మన వెబ్ పేజ్ లో ఆ ఫామ్ డిస్ప్లే అవుతుంది. సో ఎప్పుడైతే ఆ వెబ్ పేజ్ ఓపెన్ చేసి ఫామ్ ఫిల్ చేసి సబ్మిట్ చేస్తారో ఆ యూజర్ ఆ రెస్పెక్ట్ యూజర్ ఒక డేటా మనం కలెక్ట్ చేస్తున్నాం. ఓకేనా? సో హియర్ సో ఐఎమ్ జస్ట్ డివైడింగ్ దిస్ ఫార్మ్స్ into two types: form elements, second one form attributes. Okay, just for your understanding purpose, I have divided it. Okay, so what is an element? What is an element? Opening tag itself, followed by some content, then closing tag. Same when coming to the form elements. So form has some specific elements. Whenever we are working with forms, we are going to use that particular elements. Okay, so these are the elements we are going to use to take the data from the users in different forms, in different format. Okay, so first, so I'm going to use form tag, then again input element. Okay, so then again select. So inside this select, there will be option is one more element. Okay, so then label, text area, so text area and so on. Okay, so these are the major basic elements. Whenever we are working with forms, we are going to use. Okay, so then again when coming to the attributes, so the maximum times we are going to use type is an attribute for the input tag. Okay, so just remember type, then again name, value and so on. Like this we are going to use attributes. What is an attribute? Which is going to add additional information to this particular element. So whenever I'm mentioning this particular type, this type attribute will add additional information to that particular input tag. Okay, which type of data I need to accept. Clear? So this is basic. Try to remember. So I'm going to create form. Whenever we are going to create form in HTML document, first we need to open form tag, which will be closing tag also. Okay, so inside this form tag, I need to mention input. So whenever you are just mentioned input tag, it is going to create a rectangle shape box or else field. Okay, where user is able to type something, enter something, data. It might be any characters from your keyboard. Okay, so just try to save it and run it. It has been just created a input field where user is able to try to type something. Okay, it might be any characters from your keyboard. Okay, so now by default, the text type, by default, the type of input tag is text. Okay, so I'm going to mention here, by default it is text, but I'm going to mention here explicitly type text. Okay, whenever I'm mentioning type equal to text, it will accept all characters from your keyboard. Along with this type attribute, I'm going to pass name attribute. So any idea what is the purpose of this name attribute? Any idea? Hmm? So whenever I am using name attribute followed by some value, whatever the value I am passing, it will be the name of this particular input field. So నేను ఎప్పుడైతే నేమ్ అట్రిబ్యూట్ క్రియేట్ చేసి ఒక వాల్యూ పాస్ చేస్తానో ఇట్ మైట్ బి ఎనీ నేమ్. ఓకే, సో జస్ట్ ఐఎమ్ గివింగ్ సమ్ నేమ్. హౌ ఎవర్ హ్యూమన్స్ హ్యావ్ దేర్ ఓన్ నేమ్స్. ఓకే, సిమిలర్లీ ఐఎమ్ గోయింగ్ టు పాస్ హియర్ వన్ నేమ్ టు దిస్ పర్టికులర్ ఇన్పుట్ ఫీల్డ్. ఓకే, సో ఈ ఇన్పుట్ ట్యాగ్ కి నేను ఒక నేమ్ పాస్ చేస్తున్నాను. ఈ నేమ్ ఎప్పుడు యూస్ అవుతుంది అంటే నేను ఎప్పుడైతే ఫార్మ్ డేట్ అని సబ్మిట్ చేస్తానో ఆ వాల్యూకి యాడ్ అయ్యి ఈ నేమ్, దెన్ ఇట్ ఈస్ గోయింగ్ టు సబ్మిట్ టు ద సర్వర్. ఓకే, వీ హావ్ సీన్ దిస్ థింగ్స్. Then again we are going to see no issue. So here till this point it is fine. So I'm going to take one more input field. Now this time type is password. Okay, so name I'm going to take password. Okay, you can just pass any name. The thing is whatever the name you are passing here, it will be the name for your input tag. Okay, so the name of this first input tag is full name. The name for this particular second input tag is password. Okay, done. So second, the third one, I am going to create so here it is text again. I am going to mention it email ID. So next type, I am going to mention submit. Okay, so what is this submit is going to, in general, what is submit? Any idea? In general, so what is this submit is going to do? So whenever that form has been filled, okay, that all input fields has been completed, filled by user, then he need to submit the data to the server. Okay, on that time this submit button will helps. Okay, whenever you are using input type submit, so this particular input tag is not going to create any input field, it is going to create a button. Once that user has been click on that button, it is going to submit this data to the server. Then again it is going to reload this page. సో మనం ఎప్పుడైతే ఇన్పుట్ టైప్ సబ్మిట్ అని ఇస్తామో, సో ఇది నార్మల్ ఇన్పుట్ టైప్ టెక్స్ట్ లాగా ఇన్పుట్ ఫీల్డ్ క్రియేట్ చేయదు. సో జస్ట్ ఇట్ ఈస్ గోయింగ్ టు క్రియేట్ వన్ బటన్. ఓకే, సో యూజర్ ఎప్పుడైతే ఆ బటన్ క్లిక్ చేస్తాడో ఇట్ ఈస్ గోయింగ్ టు సబ్మిట్ ఆల్ దిస్ ఫార్మ్ డేటా టు ద సర్వర్, అలాంగ్ విత్ ఇట్ ఈస్ గోయింగ్ టు రీలోడ్ దిస్ పేజ్. ఓకే, ఫార్మ్ డేటా అంతా క్లియర్ అయిపోతుంది. క్లియర్? Then one more input type, reset, reload. So first input tag is for full name. Okay, second password, third one for email ID. Okay, so it is submit, it is reset. So I'm going to fill here. So Peter, so password I'm going to mention Mark. So email ID sample. Just if I submit it, just observe on this particular URL path. Okay, so full name Peter. So what is this full name? Our input tag name. Okay, now so our input tag name is displaying whenever your form gets submitted, along with your value, whatever value you have entered in this input field, along with your value, it is going to add your input name. Clear? Then again password Mark. Then again email ID. So whatever the email ID you have entered in that respective field, it is going to add it. Clear? So once if I click on submit, this entire fields has been cleared. Means it has been submitted to the server. So I'm going to make reset. It has been cleared. So I hope you are already familiar with this reset button. Okay, what is this reset is going to do. If there is any mistakes you have done in your input fields on filling this data, okay, on that time you are going to click on reset. It is going to clear all the data. It is not going to submit. It is just clear out all the data, whatever you have entered in our form. Clear till this point? Any doubts? Any doubts till this point? No. So here I have used type text. Okay. So you can just use type email ID. Sorry, email. So what is the difference between type text and email? Type email. In interview, they are going to ask what is the difference between type text and type email. Okay. So how you are going to answer it? It is password. It is email, right? I am going to mention here same Jessica this time. So now I am going to try to submit. Immediately, whenever you have used type email, immediately it is going to give a pop-up or else error message. Okay. With the message, please include an at the rate. Okay, at the rate symbol. Okay, so what is the format of this email? So some text followed by at the rate, then again domain you need to pass. So at least you need to follow that structure. If it is not valid also, no issue, but you need to follow the structure. At the rate, some text, try to submit. It is going to submit. Okay, it is not valid, but till this point, we need to at least follow some format. Okay, however, email is exactly look like, we need to at least follow that format. Okay, when coming to the type text, it will never ever raise any errors. So whatever you have entered, it is going to take it. Clear until unless you are going to mention any patterns. Okay, so మన రిక్వైర్మెంట్ కి తగ్గట్టు ప్యాటర్న్స్ యూస్ చేస్తే తప్పితే అప్పటి వరకు మనం ఏదైతే ఎంటర్ చేస్తామో అది యాక్సెప్ట్ చేసేస్తుంది డేటా. క్లియర్ టిల్ దిస్ పాయింట్? By seeing here, you will understand which type of input it is, what is the purpose of that particular input field. All these things ఈ కోడ్ చూసి మనకు అర్థం అవుతుంది. ఓకేనా? సో ఆ ఇన్పుట్ ట్యాగ్ ఎందుకు క్రియేట్ చేసాం, ఆ ఇన్పుట్ టైప్ దేనికి సంబంధించిందని ఈ కోడ్ చూస్తే అర్థమవుతుంది మనకి. Whenever users who are not familiar with coding, by seeing this output, how they will understand what is this input field. So what is the second one? How they will understand. So కొత్తగా ఎవరైనా just assume it is our web page. If new persons has been seen this particular form, how they will understand this input field. So what is the purpose of this input field అని ఎలా అర్థం అవుతుంది వాళ్ళకి? అర్థం అవుతుంది. ఓకేనా? So that is the reason we mention label for this particular each input field. Sorry, each input tag. Label. So what is this label is going to give? It is going to give at least title to that particular input field. What is the purpose of this input field? Okay, to the users. Okay, as a developer, you are familiar here, at least the name is giving some information about this input tag. For users or clients, you need to mention what is the use of this particular input tag. Here, for that we are going to mention label. So here I am going to mention full name. Okay, then second label for second input tag. So here I am going to mention password. So then last, you can just mention email ID or enter email ID. Done. It is going to give some information. So what field it is, what is the data we need to enter here. Okay, so in general, where we are going to see label. So label and ఏమైనా idea ఉందా in real world, not in coding. So whenever we are going to visit malls or any shopping, what it is, stores, on the time whenever we are buying clothes, we are going to see its label tag at least. Okay, so what they are going to mention, they are going to mention at least the information about that particular item. Similarly here, it will, this particular label tag will says about this particular input tag. Clear? So just ఇలా గుర్తుపెట్టుకోవడానికి ట్రై చేయండి. Will get at least remember easily. Clear? So what is the purpose of label? So it will say about the input tag, or else it will gives the title of input tag. Clear? Done. So we are going to discuss few more input types. Input type radio. So any idea on it? Name, gender. I'm going to close it. So any idea on this particular radio type? So here, whenever you have opened the items, here, to see, this is radio button. Okay, so just give me a second. Is not available. Okay, try to open it another. Here, I'm able to select only one option from the two, or else two or more. From the two or more options, I'm able to select only one option. Okay, on that time we are going to use type radio. Whenever you have multiple options, you need to select only one. Okay, on that time you are going to use type input type radio. Okay, then again, whenever you have multiple options, from these multiple options you are going to select multiple options. Okay, on that time you are going to use input type checkbox. So here, so here it is checkbox. I am able to select multiple options from multiple choices. Okay, so I'm able to select multiple options from the multiple choices. Okay, so I have multiple choices. I can just select n number of options. Okay, when coming to the radio button, so I need to select only one from multiple options. Clear? అర్థమైందా? అర్థం కలదా? So నాకు multiple options ఉన్నాయి. Only one I need to select. On that time I can prefer input type radio. If I have multiple options, I need to select two or more options or multiple options. Okay, on that time I can prefer checkbox. Clear? So now value male. Same, I'm going to take one more here, female. So for this input, I need to mention here. So if you just mention like this, it will displace buttons. It is not going to display any label to it. It is going to display only buttons. Okay. So I'm going to mention here male. So here female. So now tell me, I need to select only one option from this both. Okay. అంతే కదా రేడియో బటన్ అంటే. సో నాకు మల్టిపుల్ ఆప్షన్స్ ఉన్నాయి, ఓన్లీ ఒకదాన్నే నేను సెలెక్ట్ చేసుకోవాలి. బట్ హియర్ ఐఎమ్ ఏబుల్ టు సెలెక్ట్ బోత్. వై? బికాస్ I have just removed here name attribute. Okay, based on name attribute, it is going to group your input tag. Okay, now so name same గా ఉండాలి రెండు రేడియో టైప్స్ కి. ఓకేనా? సో అప్పుడే ఆ రెండు ఇన్పుట్ టైప్స్ ఒక గ్రూప్ లో ఉంటాయి, లేదంటే డిఫరెంట్ అని అర్థమవుతుందా? సో ఇఫ్ ఐ హ్యావ్ సేమ్ నేమ్ మేల్, So here name, female, same. It is going to select two options this time also. Okay. But actually radio button will select only one option from two or more. So I need to mention same name for the both or multiple input tags. Is going to select only one this time. Okay. So like this, you are going to work with type radio. Okay. Similarly, checkbox. I'm going to take. So for this, I'm going to give label skills. So here, so I'm going to convert this radio into checkbox. Done. This name into skills. Same name I need to give for all checkbox input type. So value going to change HTML. So JavaScript. So here Java, PHP. Done. So here I'm going to select multiple options. Clear? You just try to remember if you have multiple options, if you're selecting multiple options. Okay. So on the time check boxes. If you have multiple options, you are going to select only one from those things. Those. On the time type radio. Clear? So మనకు multiple options ఉన్నాయి, multiple options select చేస్తున్నాం అంటే check box. If you are selecting only one from this multiple on the time radio. విన్నారా అందరూ? Done. Type radio. Okay. So in interview, they are going to ask if you are using input type text, it is going to generate input field for one line text. Okay, only you are able to write this text in single line. Okay, if you need to take next line, it is not possible. If I click on enter, it is going to submit. I am not able to come to the next line. Okay, so on that time, what we need to do? Any idea? సో మనం ఎప్పుడైనా ఏదైనా వెబ్ పేజెస్ ఓపెన్ చేస్తే ఫ్లిప్కార్ట్ కానీ స్విగ్గీ కానీ జొమాటో కానీ రివ్యూ ఇవ్వడానికి కింద ఇన్పుట్ ఫీల్డ్ ఉంటుందా, పెద్దగా ఉంటుందా? సో వీఆర్ ఏబుల్ టు రైట్ మల్టిపుల్ లైన్స్. సో వాట్ ఈస్ ద థింగ్ దే హ్యావ్ యూస్డ్? దే ఆర్ గోయింగ్ టు యూస్ టెక్స్ట్ ఏరియా. ఓకే, సో దిస్ టెక్స్ట్ ఏరియా ఈస్ గోయింగ్ టు జనరేట్ ఇన్పుట్ ఫీల్డ్ వేర్ యూ కెన్ జస్ట్ రైట్ multiple lines. Okay, clear? So text area is a tag. It is not an input type. Okay, so text area is a tag which is going to generate input field where you can just write multiple lines. Clear? Done. Selection. Sorry, select. So inside this select, I'm going to mention options. So select. So here, India, Germany, Canada. Okay, done. So whenever I have used select a tag, it is going to create a drop down. Okay, so I'm going to select one option from the multiple again. Okay, so which is drop down. Just give me a second. Whenever I'm clicking on it, it is going to drop down all the options. From these options, I'm going to choose only one. Okay, clear till this point? Any doubts? No. So, okay. ఏమైనా డౌట్స్ ఉన్నాయి ఇక్కడ వరకు? No. Just I'm going to reload it. So first name Peter, password 12345. So email ID I'm going to mention sample@gmail.com. So mail HTML JavaScript I'm going to select. So I'm going to write okay, no issue, leave this text area. So here I'm going to select India. Then now I am going to submit. Okay, just try to look here in this URL path. So what it has been selected? Full name Peter, password, email, then again gender, skills HTML and JavaScript. Okay, so it is going to take all these values. Clear till this point? It is fine. So this value attribute is going to hold the data. Okay, so ఈ value attribute లేదనుకోండి, ఇది just a text. Whatever you are writing outside the input tag, it is not a value. So I have removed all the values. So even though it is not going to raise any errors, so I'm going to select this HTML, JavaScript, Java. Try to submit. I'm going to select, reload. Submit. See here, if you observe, skills is equal to on. Okay, so on అని ఏదో వాల్యూ అసైన్ చేసేసి, ఓకేనా? సో యాక్చువల్గా మనం ఏం సెలెక్ట్ చేస్తాం? హెచ్టిఎంఎల్, జావాస్క్రిప్ట్, జావా ఈ వాల్యూ సెలెక్ట్ చేస్తాం. కానీ అది స్కిల్స్ ఇస్ ఈక్వల్ టు ఏదో డిఫాల్ట్ ఆన్ అని తీసుకుంటుంది. సో ఎందుకంటే ఇన్పుట్ ట్యాగ్ క్రియేట్ చేసాం, నేమ్ ఇచ్చున్నాం, కానీ వాల్యూ పాస్ చేయట్లా. ఫర్ ఎవ్రీ ఇన్పుట్ ఫీల్డ్ there will be an value attribute. Okay, so for every input field there will be a value attribute. If you are passing that value attribute, it is going to take, otherwise it is going to assign. Okay, so same, I'm going to enable it. If you are passing, it is going to take, otherwise this time it is going to select the values. Okay, if that value is available, it is going to take. If it is not, it is not going to take. For only radio, checkbox, then again select, drop down key. Okay, na? But when coming to the full name, it is going to take value attribute. It is going to add dynamically. Dynamic add చేసుకుంటుంది. ఓకేనా? సో లేదు, స్టాటిక్ గా నేను ఇక్కడ వాల్యూ పాస్ చేయాలంటే పాస్ చేయొచ్చు. Just you need to pass here value attribute. So I'm going to pass from Jessica. So by default, it is going to add that Jessica name in this input field. Okay, without typing from the user. Okay, without taking from the user, it is going to add this name in your input field itself. By default, if you are passing in your input tag, if you are not passing, whatever the value you are trying to type, that value it is going to assign to that particular value attribute. Okay. Okay. So here, inspect, just select this input field. So here, input field, I have just selected value attribute with no value. Kanipistunda last value attribute with no value. Whenever I am trying to type something, this value attribute is updating dynamically. Clear? So like this, for input field, it is going to take dynamic value attribute. But when coming to the select radio checkboxes. We need to mention that particular value attribute. Clear? So I'm going to stop. Just give me a second. Buttons we need to discuss. Okay. So input type. Input type button. So whenever you are using input type button, it is going to generate button. Okay. So however, submit is going to create button, but it is not going to generate any input field. Okay. So it is going to create button where user is able to click on it. Similarly, whenever you are using input type button, it is going to create button. A user is able to click on it. Okay. So, but the difference between input type submit and input type button is nothing but once if you click on. Okay. So I'm going to pass value register or close. Okay. So here for submit, I'm going to mention value register. Okay, so whenever you are mentioning value attribute for this type submit or type button, this value is going to display on top of that button. This text will display on top of that button. So earlierly by default, whenever you are using submit button, sorry, type submit, it is going to create text with submit. Now I have just changed it register. Value I have mentioned inside this particular input tag is register. Then the text will be replaced with this register. So now if I click on this register, which is type submit, it is going to submit the data. And coming to the button, type button, what it is going to do? It is not going to do any submission. It will just act as a button. Okay. So మనం ఎప్పుడు యూస్ చేస్తామంటే maximum times whenever you have created any forms, on top of the form you are going to see close button. Close అయిపోతుంది. So we'll just see whether they have used or not. Like this. So here it is going to close. Okay. So కొన్ని forms కి ఇక్కడ వస్తుంది close button. ఓకేనా చాలా. So it is not submit button, but whenever you are working with the buttons inside the form, you are going to use input type button. So in interview, definitely they are going to ask what is the difference between input type button, input type submit. Okay. So both are going to generate buttons where user is able to click on it. When coming to the input type submit, it is going to submit the form data to the server. When coming to the type button, it will never ever submit the form data. It will just act as a button. Okay, whenever we need to close it, on the time we are going to use in real time. Okay, so like this, we need to touch. So here there will be two buttons. One is submit, another one is close. If I submit, it is going to ask, please fill this form. Okay, like this. Clear? Done. So that again, input type file. So any idea on it? Name resume. I'm going to mention. So here, whenever you are using input type file, it is going to create file uploader. Okay. try to reload. So here, okay. So choose file is the button. So whenever you're clicking on it, it is going to open your file manager. From your file manager, you can just select any file that you need to select. Then it is going to clear. So file, whenever you need to upload something, okay, on the time you're going to use input type file. Clear? Clear ఇక్కడ వరకు? Any doubts till this point? So ఇంకా ఉంది ఫార్మ్స్ న్యూ టైప్స్ ఉన్నాయి. సో అప్కమింగ్ క్లాస్ లో డిస్కస్ చేద్దాం. అగైన్ ఫార్మ్ అట్రిబ్యూట్స్ ఉన్నాయి, యాక్షన్ మెథడ్ అవి. సో ఆర్ గోయింగ్ టు డిస్కస్ ఇన్ అప్కమింగ్ క్లాస్. Till this point, any doubts? So here label and input tags are inline elements. That is the reason it is doing just side by side. Okay, once this width has been completed, then the next input field is coming to the next line. Until unless it is just keep on mentioning side by side. Okay, how to stop these things? We can just use break. We are not familiar with CSS, so we can just use break. BR stands for break. So this is the tag which is going to break that particular line. Okay, the next element will comes to the next line. Clear? So it is going to occupy line space. Same after this input field also, we are going to take one more like single tag it is. So like this you are going to use. Clear? So try to create a basic form which contains first name, last name, then again email ID, password, submit button. Okay, try to create. If you need, you can just mention this radio button, checkbox, all these things. Create Jasara. Can just create from your end. So online, any doubts till this point? Online. వినిపిస్తుందా మీకు?